tired of me taking up your house?
Oh, no, I just think you deserve something nice.
Thank you, Orly. I thought you were going to get some goats.
Someday. My father had goats. Cow's milk didn't sit well with my sister, and goats are easy to care for. Kind of friendly, really.
How friendly.
Well, I've never tried to court one, if that's what you mean.
Oh, stop that.
Yeah, I remember one time we went to see a man about a goat. We drove up to the farm, and along the fence line, we saw a goat running with a wooden leg. So my father says, Sven, why do you have a goat with a wooden leg? Well, it's a funny story about that goat, says Sven. Well, I remember one time I was plowing the back 40, and the rig flipped over and pinned me underneath. And I was screaming and squirming, but I couldn't get out. But that old goat came and dug all around me with his hooves and pulled me to safety. And if it hadn't been for that goat, I'd have died of starvation right there. It's a wonderful story, my father says, but what about the wooden leg? Well, it's a funny thing about that goat, says Sven. Why, just last month I was felling a tree on our property when a wolf came by and chased me up the very tree I was cutting down. And I was screaming and hollering, but no one would come to save me. That old goat came and he butted that wolf with his horns, and if it wasn't for that goat, my bones would be in that tree to this very day. Wonderful story again, Sven. But what about the wooden leg? Well, that's a funny thing about that goat, says Sven. Why, just last night, me and the missus were laying down to sleep when a fire broke out in the kitchen. And we would have burned up in that very room, but that goat came in and woke us up, and we put out the fire and saved the farm. And if it wasn't for that goat, we'd be in our graves right now. Finally, my father says, Sven, no more stories. Why does the goat have a wooden leg? Well, Sven says, you got an animal that smart, you don't want to eat it all at once, now do you?
It's awful story.
Sorry, Miss Ingrid. Promised you I wouldn't get fresh.
It's okay, Ollie. It's okay.
We should get back to work now.
Thank you for the story. Will you tell me another sometime?
It could happen.
Worked that farm in the rain and the wind and the mud. Some days you'd wonder why you never left Norway. But there wasn't anything else for it, so you just kept on. But that wasn't Ole's only job. Some days he'd tell Ingrid that he was going to work the back 40, and she should stay and work around the house. But in reality, he was working for another farmer, a more prosperous farmer down the road, renting out his back and his arms.
You mucked out them stalls, then, Ole?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Anderson. You know how much I love to muck the stalls.
One day you'll have stalls of your own.
Good. Then I can muck them, too.
Yeah, I've worked this farm for 15 years, Ole. We lived in a Saudi the first 3 years. Then we got the big house. It's gone from one skinny cow to 20 head. My orchard's gone from 1 tree to 2 dozen.
You've done well, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, lad. And you will, too. As long as you work hard, don't get ahead of yourself. But first, I should think you'd want to find a wife.
Wife? I'd be getting ahead of myself.
Come on. There's lots of fine, eligible women who need husbands around here. And you've got a farm.
Well, such as it is.
It is something, Ole. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah. I gotta be careful some pretty young thing doesn't just hook me like a fish when all she really wants is my money.
Oh, you know what I mean. But somebody said they'd seen you with a woman in your wagon.
It's like somebody has a pea in her bonnet.
Could be. Did you find a woman?
I did.
Where?
At the train station. Well, you never know what's going to come in on the train. What just last week?
Olaf Olsen, did you send away for one of those mail order brides?
No!
Well, then how did you get a woman on your wagon?
Well, like I said, I found her at the train station.
And?
And I took her home and put her to work.
Well, your clothes do seem a bit cleaner. Where's she staying?
In the house.
Holy, you rascal, you.
Stay in the barn.
Ah, so you picked up a stray,
She come all the way into town to work for the Dahlstroms.
but they're dead.
Well, they don't much need a nanny, do they?
People will talk, Ole.
Yeah, they do that, don't they? I don't mind. She's a hard worker and she doesn't complain.
She is a woman, isn't she?
All right. She doesn't complain more than usual.
Well, what does she do for you?
She cooks, she cleans,